Hello and welcome to In the Garden with Flower Hill Farm, a podcast brought to you by Botanical Interests. I'm your host, Nicole Pitt. Today we are thinking ahead to the summer garden and talking about companion planting and adding flowers to your veggie patch. Coming up, we are going to be joined by Angela Judd, known for her YouTube channel, Growing in the Garden, where she gardens in the desert. She does a lot of companion planting, and we will hear from her in just a few minutes. Companion planting is defined as the practice of growing two or more plant species close together for mutual benefit, such as improved soil, pollination, and pest control. Benefits include one plant repelling pests for another, attracting pollinators, providing physical support, or improving soil fertility throughout processes like nitrogen fixation. For example, planting basil with tomatoes may help deter pests, and planting beans with corn provides support for the beans and enriches the soil for both. This is also a way to maximize your grow space. Companion planting is an ancient practice with a long history, notably the Native American Three Sisters method of planting corn, beans, and squash together. This practice, which dates back over 10,000 years, was also observed in ancient Greece and Rome, and used in ancient China, where mosquito ferns were grown with rice. Today, this practice continues with renewed interest in sustainable agriculture, supported by modern research. We're going to dive more into companion planting with our guest in just a few moments. We will also be talking about the benefits of adding flowers to your veggie patch, which brings me to our seed of the day, which is lobelia. Lobelia is easy to start from seed, and Botanical Interests offers 3 different varieties. These are amazing plants to incorporate into the garden. Not only do they provide a pop of color from white to blue to pink to purple, but they also attract pollinators. Most garden centers utilize this striking plant in hanging baskets and also have it available in 4-inch pots for bedding plants or window boxes. It's also really fun to start from seed. I chose this today because it happens to be one of the favorite flowers of our guest, Angela. Coming up in the garden, we chat with Angela and dive deeper into companion planting. Welcome back to In the Garden with Flower Hill Farm. And today we are joined by Angela Judd. And Angela has a YouTube channel called Growing in the Garden. Angela, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to have you today.
Nicole, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
So for those who are not familiar with where you are and what your climate is and what your garden space looks like, tell us where you are and all of those things.
You bet. Well, you're in upstate New York. So if you can imagine pretty much the opposite of that, I'm in the desert. I'm in Arizona in Mesa. And so we can garden year round, which is amazing, but it's pretty hot a lot of the year. And I live in I have a suburban lot, about a third of an acre, and I do a lot of raised bed gardening, lots of fruit trees, flowers, in-ground beds, you name it, I try and grow it.
Just so you're aware, it's currently a blizzard, and I have about 10 inches of snow on my car right now. So we are in absolutely the opposite climate. So I don't, my growing season is about 120 days. I cannot even imagine if it was year round. That is absolutely amazing. So one of the things I want to talk to you about today is companion planting. I know you do a lot of that. Talk about the benefits of companion planting, and then we'll get into what you like to grow together.
Yeah, the more I garden, I feel like the less I do as far as like pests and things like that. But the more I also do a lot of companion planting. And I think that helps because I do a lot of square foot gardening, and that naturally lends itself to interplanting. I don't have long, giant rows of any one vegetable. So I'm interplanting lots of different vegetables. And a little rule that I follow or like to follow is that I have at least one herb and one flower in every bed. And that has served me very well because I have a lot of help when it comes to pests, and I'm not on my own with that. So I love, all the favorite companion plants, of course. And we have distinct, cool seasons here and warm and hot seasons where not everything can grow year round. So I kind of have to lean into my, alyssum and cilantro and parsley for my cool season. And then in my hot and warm season, it's all about the basil, zinnia, even things like sesame, which are, you don't always think of as a companion plant, but it has so many flowers and attracts pollinators. So whatever likes the heat, we grow it.
So what is in your garden right now?
So much. This is the best time of year. It really is. Like October and November are key planting months. And so I just try and fill everything. And then it just it'll slow down because we got a little chilly this morning. It was in the 40s this morning. So that was a little cold. I have a sweatshirt on. But this afternoon, it'll be almost 70. So it's beautiful. So good growing weather. Things slow down a little bit. But so what's in my garden? All the brassicas, carrots, root crops, onions, garlic, all the flowers. I'm growing more and more beds are being converted over to flowers. So many snapdragons and, bulbs, everything. So pretty much everything is in my garden right now.
I am trying to control my jealousy as I look out the window and the snow is falling. Oh my gosh. Now you said, okay, so an herb, a vegetable, and a flower. And what kind of flowers are you talking about? What ones are you planting for those benefits?
That's a great question. Well, one of my favorite ways to add, there's of course like alyssum, calendula, nasturtium, kind of the basics that you think of. But I also love having things like cilantro and allowing that to bolt. And then those great umbel flowers that bring in all of, the tiny little hoverflies and all of the different beneficial insects. So any kinds of parsley will do the same thing. Dill, beautiful. Again, beautiful umbel flowers that turn into beneficial insect factories in your garden.
One of my favorite flowers is like the Greek oregano flower. And I didn't even know that it flowered because I had never let it go that far. I would always harvest it. But one year I just had this beautiful dark purple. I was probably 3.5, 4 feet tall. And I was like, oh my goodness. I actually cut it and used it in a bouquet. It was stunning.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that does sound pretty. Yeah, oregano. I don't know if I've seen the Greek oregano ones flower, but a very typical oregano, yeah, those flowers. I mean, you go out in the middle of the day and it's just, there's so much life all around it. And it's just, love it.
Now, I saw a video where you were talking about lobelia. Mm-hmm. And how beautiful and striking that is. Now, is that, I heard a rumor it might be one of your favorite flowers. Is that true?
Yeah, no, totally. Anything blue, I feel like that always falls in my list of favorite flowers. But lobelia is a lot like alyssum. It's low growing, mounding. So I'll tuck that at the ends of beds, around, containers. I do a lot of container gardening during the cooler months. And, tuck alyssum, lobelia, all of those all around. So for sure.
So you're in the desert. So do you get a lot of scorching sun, I'm guessing? Mm-hmm. And the lobelia holds up well to that? Or is that something
not
you
at
plant?
all.
I was going to say, because in my garden center, I have to hide it underneath baskets so that it doesn't scorch. Okay. So it's the same thing with you. It does scorch if you put it in the sun like that. Okay.
Right. I have to wait in the fall. I'll see it in the nursery and it'll still be a little bit hot. And I'll be like, oh, I'm so excited. And I'll buy it and it'll die. So I always have to wait a little bit until we really get into, usually November you're safe to plant lobelia. And then it'll grow and do really well until we get hot in the spring. And then it's out of there.
So do you do a lot of seed starting or are you buying started plants for your stuff?
Both. I do, depends on the year. Some years I do a lot of seed starting. It's both. I have seed starting inside, but really because we garden year round, there are so many, I could be starting seeds every month of the year.
Yeah.
So it's just different. It's kind of a juggling act. Sometimes I think about, what if it was snowy here and I had a break? I think, how would that be?
You would go nuts like I do.
Yeah. I think our hotter months, like when it's really hot outside, I really lean into cover crops and kind of low maintenance crops because it's just so hot. There's not a lot that does well. We just have our handful of crops that tolerate, the consistent 110, 115, low, and their lows are not very low. Our lows are getting higher, which is that's really hard on plants. And so
Wow.
that's kind of our break. And so that's when I'm really like focusing on hot season cover crops and things like that.
What have you found performs the best in the heat like that?
Okra. Okra
Mm.
is a champ. Sweet potatoes, even things like Armenian cucumbers, which are, type of melon. Cantaloupe will do well. Zinnias, basil, those are the um, black-eyed peas, those kind of things. So,
I've
yeah.
never grown those. I wonder how long their, days to harvest is, because I did do lima beans for the first time this year, and I was so excited because I actually got a few lima beans.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, I might have to add black eyed peas to my list. That's the problem. Like I just want to grow everything, and I have a really hard time cutting back, especially because I own a garden center. So whatever doesn't sell, I just tend to bring home and plant it everywhere. Even I have rows of annual flowers that are about 120 feet long. And one of those rows was eggplant
Wow.
this year because I had probably 2 trays of 6 packs left over for the season. So I just brought it all home and planted it.
That is so much eggplant. That is so much.
And I can tell you that I didn't get to, I think I harvested 2 eggplants out of 100 plants because I just didn't get it in the ground in time. And we had a frost on September 6th. So I had a plethora of flowers that just didn't make it to fruit and it got too cold. September 6th is really early for us. Usually it's more like September 26th. So it was definitely a killing frost, much earlier than we had hoped for the season.
Oh, wow. Well,
Do you
and for us,
even,
go ahead.
I was going to say, do you even have killing frosts?
We'll get a couple of frost events a year, and it's the type. So, like right now, my garden's full of tomatoes, and I hope it just depends. If those don't freeze, then they'll keep growing year round. Peppers grow year round. Eggplants are one of those things that you know probably the easiest thing to grow here. Are just so prolific. But we will get 1 or 2 frost events, and if you cover things like the peppers and eggplants, then you can keep them going.
Yeah, they make it through. That is amazing. I do have a curtain that was made for like a blackout curtain, and it's extra thick, and that's what I use to cover if we're just going to have a really early frost. But when I've got a 120-foot row of eggplant, there was just no covering it, unfortunately. Oh, so I saw you did the traditional planting of 3 sisters. Talk to us about what that is, and if you found success doing that.
I've tried it a couple of different times with mixed success. This past spring, it was a fabulous success. I mean, it worked so well. And I really, again, I'm just leaning into that companion planting, relying on, beneficial insects. And there really are advantages to that. So, yeah, I planted corn, beans, and squash, and different types of each, and it did really well. And I grow mostly in raised beds, and so I had to adapt that for a raised bed. And so it's got the kind of a couple of lines of corn in it down the middle, and then you time it a little bit, get the corn up, and then you're planting the beans. And one bed I did butternut squash, another bed I did just more like a zucchini, and they both worked really well. And I love having, YouTube is funny because you always get people, social media, they have, that's never going to work. Does she know, and I'm like, okay, it might
Mm-hmm.
not work. But I'm like, as I'm harvesting baskets full of corn and squash and beans, I thought, you know what? It did work. And partly because we did have an extra long spring. Sometimes we get really hot, and then those spring crops, the warm crops, will just be gone, be done if we don't have long enough. But we had a nice long warm spring, and I had wonderful harvest from that.
Wow. So how many corn plants would you say that you had? Because I know that the more you have, the better pollination is. I have failed multiple times at growing corn because I just didn't have enough of it. So what was the secret number for you to have a good corn harvest?
Right. And I was out of town when it was tasseling. So I was like, oh, this is never going to work. You're right. It's never going to work. I had three 4x8 beds, and down the middle I had probably, I think, 12 to 15, two two rows of like 6 or 8 corn in each one. And so not a lot of corn, but just kind of right in the middle there. And it was able to go. I did silver queen corn, which, you know, it's a pretty gold standard, I guess. Is pretty simple. I felt like that was a pretty easy corn to grow, and it did really well for me.
Wow. So you're in a residential area, you said?
Mm-hmm.
So do you have things like, because I know I've had raccoons scale my fence to get to my corn. Do you have any critters that are in your garden that you have to keep out?
That's a great question. No, actually, it's pretty tame. You know, we do get coyotes and javelinas and stuff, but that's more out if you're on the outskirts in the desert and things. So we will get, I mean, I'll get rats, but I set traps and things like that. So
Yeah.
usually not too many of the critters, bunnies and stuff. My yard, not so much.
I'm jealous of that as well. I'm just making a list of reasons why I'm jealous of Angela. It's just getting longer.
Well,
So
I don't know. Come out in the summer, and then you'll be like, "Oh, do you guys
that's
live
accurate.
here?"
That's accurate because I would probably melt. I love my 4 seasons. I guess I'm okay with upstate New York, but I have no other choice.
Beautiful.
All of my family's here. I'm not going anywhere. Although we have daydreamed about moving where I could garden year round, but it'll just continue to be a daydream. So I just on the critter note, I'm so upset because I had a critter get into my hoop house and it ate all 128 of my pansy seedlings that I was hoping to try and overwinter.
Oh,
and
no.
I just don't know what to do because what are you to do? It's a chipmunk. So, I mean, setting traps, I don't know how I feel about that. I think I'm going to get some hot pepper flakes and try to sprinkle that around. I just don't know what to do about the chipmunks because they munched all the pansies to the ground. So it's just a waste of my time and energy and tears.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It happens. It happens. It's better than the deer getting in there because they would mow all of my campanula and everything else too. So what other flowers do you have in there? I'm excited to learn more about your garden. Tell me more about what you have.
The campanula, I have a whole bed of that right now.
Yes.
2 beds of snapdragons, lots of daffodils. I think what else I have planted out there. I have some filler flowers out there. What else do I have? That's a bulk of what I did this year. We're kind of leaned really heavy into lots of sweet peas. I did lots of sweet peas, ranunculus, anemones. Yeah, a lot.
So the campanula, ranunculus, and anemones, for me, they bloom between Mother's Day and the end of June. When are they blooming for you?
So March, April is just beautiful here. Yeah. And I am not a cut flower seller. I just grow them, and I have someone that takes them around to different people that need them. Like she's will take them to people that need them. But I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to have a place to put all of these cut flowers. I don't know why I planted so many this year.
Well, I can tell you it's addicting. It really is.
Yeah.
So what other veggies do you do? Do you do a lot of green beans or what else? Watermelon? Can you guys do watermelon?
Absolutely. Yeah. Watermelon does well here. Green beans are one of those, they're the warm season crops that it just depends how long our warm season is, because they don't like it too hot and they don't like it too cold. And so it just depends. We have these little shoulder warm seasons where we can grow things. So green beans are hit and miss, watermelon, cantaloupe for sure. Some of the summer crops we talked about. And then during the cooler months, all of the brassicas, carrots, tomatoes, cucumbers. Again, cucumbers are kind of like beans. They can be tricky depending on the year, which is why I do a lot of Armenian cucumbers. There's a painted serpent variety that I love that grows really well through the heat. And so that's a reliable producer.
I have planted Armenian cucumbers a number of times, and I don't think I've ever harvested one. I think that's one that likes a little bit of a longer season, and I just can't do that. But my cucumbers, my regular, the littles, and my 8-inch ones were absolutely phenomenal this year. It was definitely a year of the cucumbers and the beets for me.
Oh, wow.
I was going to ask if you do a lot of root vegetables.
Yeah, it depends on the year. For sure, carrots. We love carrots and plant a lot of those. I don't love beets, so I don't plant a lot of beets. I did plant some this year. My mom likes to juice them, so I will give her some of those. Sweet peas are probably one of our favorite crops for cool season. So I planted a lot of those this year. So just, yeah, lots of just regular, regular veggies out there, just chard and greens and kale and all the things.
I'm so jealous. I really like beets, but mostly I like them pickled on like a tossed salad. So that's how my mother-in-law is really good at pickling them. So whatever beets she grows, she succession plants her beets like every 25 days, and she's able to harvest multiple times during the year, and she pickles them and then gives some to me, which is the
That's
best.
perfect.
Like gifts from the garden are really amazing. I just made some hot sauce from, well, not just, but this season I made Carolina Reaper hot sauce, and it
Oh,
is
wow.
it was just pure Carolina Reaper and some vinegar, and it is almost inedible for me.
Yeah.
If you put one drop in a bowl of chili, the whole thing is like fire. But I do have a lot of friends that enjoy it, so that's something that I'm gifting this year.
That is I've had those in my garden before. And I'm a mom of five. I have four boys. And that was like the thing, was the teenage boys trying the Carolina Reapers. And they decided it might be better to throw it up is the consensus.
How
Almost
old are
better
they?
to just, uh, my youngest is 11 and all the way up to my oldest, my daughter's 30. So that whole
Wow.
big span. So
Oh my
lots of them.
goodness. Do they share your love of gardening? Sounds like maybe a little bit if they're trying the peppers out.
The youngest grew up in the garden. I didn't, yeah, he has had his whole life just in the garden. And so that is part of his life. And he doesn't love all the jobs. He's like, Mom, no one else does this. What are we doing? Yeah.
That sounds like my
Uh,
15-year-old.
yeah. Yeah. So did I say he's 11? He,
Yes.
he is 14. Oh my
And we
goodness.
just we just wish for him to be 11 still, because that's where I wish
Yeah,
my son
sorry.
was
I don't know
11.
where that came from. My youngest is 14. So yeah, that's definitely that. I was like, yeah, that's never mind. He's 14, so it's like, what are we doing? No one else has a garden like this one. This is too much. And I'm like, okay, sorry. Just
Oh my
you'll
gosh.
get to eat some later. But the others, yes and no. It's interesting as my kids have gotten married, their spouses have been really interested in gardening, and so that's been really fun. Um, yeah, so I love sharing it with whoever, likes it. And they've all worked in the garden, that's for sure.
Yeah. What about yourself? Is it something you grew up doing, or is something that you found later in life?
I remember helping my grandma when I was young garden, and that kind of planted the seeds. I think that's a pretty common experience, I
Yeah.
think. And then I always wanted to. And then when we moved here in 2008, I finally had room for a garden. And that's when I really started like, okay, I'm going to learn how to do this, and got my first book, went to my first gardening class, and built my first little square foot garden, and off to the races.
I love square foot gardening. I'm going to have you back, and we'll talk all square foot gardening next time. That'd be
Yeah,
fun. I think there's
it's a
a
great
lot of
method.
interest. Yeah, I think so. My mother-in-law does a lot of that as well, because she got bit by the bug, and before you know it, she's got 30 birdies beds in her yard. Yeah, she's doing more every year too. But that's what we have to do in the winter. We up here where we have snow, it's like we're planning out our whole method of where everything is going to go, how many of this we're
Yeah.
going to plant, and so I wish we had a longer season, but at least we use the season where we're not gardening to plan our gardens.
No, and I think we do have to kind of work within what we have. Like we could grow year round, but we do have really short seasons. So it's the same thing. We really have to maximize. Okay, what is my priority? If that's my priority, if I have something else is growing, I've got to take it out and put this in, or really taking advantage of it, or like you say, the succession planting and getting crops in so you can maximize. Because we all have, I mean, for the most part, we all have different challenges. There are some
Mhm.
areas where you're like, man, I would like to garden there. It seems pretty simple, but I think all of us have different, like it sounds like, with critters and snow, you have different challenges, and
Yeah.
I certainly have different things that we face. So
Yeah. I'm wondering about your transition from, say, seedlings that you start inside to outside because of the heat that you have. How long does it take to transition from, say, your basement to the raised bed?
no, that's a great question. And so you really just have to pay attention to the seedlings. And so for us, one of the best times to plant is like monsoon. We get that other warm
Yeah.
season, and it can be 110 outside. So you're taking these beautiful tomatoes or whatever, and you really have to follow their lead and see how they do. But it can be a good week, at least a couple weeks of transitioning them, and hoping for that monsoon moisture that we get or some humidity to help make that transition a little bit easier. Implementing things like shade, definitely mulching. But yeah, hardening off, we definitely take that seriously when we're trying to get those, especially in the winter or the summer season, getting those fall crops in.
Every year, we always have one rogue day in May after I've hardened off my seedlings and I get them in the ground, where we get a day that's all of a sudden 92 degrees. And I usually have to have a backup batch of basil because it will just burn to a crisp no matter what I do, even if I harden it off perfectly. And I know why. It's because I plant that crop. It's basil, like Mrs. Burns citrus lemon basil for cut flowers. And I plant in black, it's a Bio 360, a biodegradable film. So this past year, so 2024, I smartened up a bit and I started to order the Bio 360 that is white on one side. So now I use the
That's
white
good.
side, and that has saved my basil and a couple of other tender plants. I think I lost a lot of ageratum one year, but just as those, when we're 60, 70 degrees, and then all of a sudden a 92 degree day comes, it just kills everything. But white Bio 360.
Yeah, that's good to know. Mrs. Burns is one of my favorites too. I grow that all over in the summer. And it will, if it builds up, it'll tolerate, it's a tough plant. Those small leaf basils will tolerate the full sun, tough sun, pretty well, but not all at once. Yeah,
sudden. Yeah. And it's one of my favorite things to grow. Back when I was doing farmers markets, all I had to have was a bucket of that on my market table, and people would walk by and they'd just be drawn right in because it's so deliciously
Yeah.
It smells so good. That and cinnamon basil, but I do find that more people like the citrus basil versus cinnamon. Cinnamon's more of it's like an all spicy smell. Delicious, but not as popular as the lemon.
Oh no, I love that. Yeah, that's one thing I've definitely tried so many different types, because it's a crop that will handle our summers, and so
yeah,
if there's a variety of basil, I've grown it because it likes the heat. So
I love it. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's so nice to get to know you, and hopefully we can chat again sometime soon, maybe about square foot gardening.
I'd love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. As part of our Sow and Tell segment, we like to ask people what inspires them in the garden. And today we are asking our guest, Angela. Angela, what inspires you in the garden?
Well, I love teaching about gardening, and what inspires me is I think back to that new gardener in Arizona who did not know what she was doing and killed a whole lot of plants. And when I can teach someone else and I hear back that something that I've taught them has helped them to be successful in this, tough desert climate, it helps me keep going and makes me want to just keep on teaching and learning so I can share what I'm learning with others.
I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And we'd love to share your stories as well. Send me what inspires you in the garden to Nicole@botanicalinterests.com. You can send me an audio message or a short video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm your host, Nicole Pitt, and you can find more of my garden adventures over on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook @Flower Hill Farm. And of course, all of the seeds and garden goodies we talked about are waiting for you at botanicalinterests.com. Or check your favorite local garden center to see if they carry botanical interests, like we do at the Boone Street Nursery. Save 5% off your order by using the code INTHEGARDEN. Want to see what we're talking about? Subscribe to Botanical Interests YouTube channel for the video version of this podcast, and follow along on Instagram and TikTok for fresh garden tips, ideas, and behind-the-scenes fun. All of the links for this episode are in the description. We will see you next time in the garden. I'll meet you there.